So we got this folder here, turn in 521. That's the date and the state of the project that it's in on 521. And there's no project files, just exports. So we got narrative, we got style variables, TXTs. In narrative, we have basically like a kind of a narrative that I was building that I wanted to build off of in the animation and kind of incorporate it in terms of like animating the words and the writing. But I haven't gotten to that. I kind of bridged a little bit from that, but it's still definitely like that kind of vibe. It's definitely there. It definitely helps set the tone and atmosphere of what I'm trying to make. And then in style variables, TXT, it's just like me taking little notes, trying to showcase my process in a way. Like this is my process for how I do my entire animation work for this project, and then other little notes that you can read through there. Then we have two project folders basically. So hand and pixel horror. Hand is just the animation of the hand that I did. Still took a lot of testing. There's still a lot of testing and experimentation in both of these folders, project folders. If you go into hand, we have AE exports, PH exports, and PR exports. So this is After Effects, Photoshop, and Premiere. And so let's go into After Effects. We have, and then we'll go into Mosaic Pixel Test. So this is me testing the resolution or the Mosaic Pixel effect, which will lower the resolution and kind of makes things pixely. So this was basically just me testing the different resolutions to see which one looked the best. With the lots folder right here, I had different brush strokes. This is all in After Effects. But it's funny, at the end of the day, I didn't actually continue working with this form, in this kind of way. I didn't use After Effects. I don't use it now. I now use Photoshop, and it took me like a week to figure that out, that I needed to not use After Effects because After Effects doesn't do what I need it to do in the way that Photoshop does. So yeah, and then Paint, this was just me realizing like, yeah, a big thing with using After Effects too is like when I'm painting, I want to be able to see like the pixels as I'm drawing them. I don't want to be painting like the normal brush line, like high resolution brush line, and then pixelate it because I don't know what it's going to look like. But if I do the drawing with the pixelation, I can see exactly what it's going to look like in the final product. Now if we go back, we have a couple of just like test videos right here for style test to see if I nailed the style and the animation and the frame rate and all that kind of stuff. This is me testing the pixel brush stroke size. And then my final hand paint. This is like my first final hand paint export, this is not how I would do it now though. This is not how I would do it now. We go to PH exports, and this is when I started to use Photoshop actually to export every frame individually when I opened up a video layer in Photoshop, which is really neat because I can downscale it with the nearest neighbor downsampling like method, and it'll keep everything in a sharp pixel count when I rescale it back up as well. So this is 144p, and then I upscaled it using a batch edit to 2160p. That's like a whole other process that I can get to maybe in a little bit. And then these are I'm just explaining what these files are basically. I'm not really explaining the process too much, but I could totally get into that in another video. And then we have just some export videos. And this is an upscale test, and it just looks blurry. I'm not going to open up any of the files because I don't want to, that's going to add too much time to this. So we go into Premiere exports now. We have just like a couple of sequence test exports, and yeah, a lot of this you can just realize is just me experimenting, testing a lot. Like right here, I was experimenting with making the background transparent, like removing the black, changing the colors, just seeing the different layers and how they affected each other. And then I did like an 8 FPS versus 24 FPS. I don't even remember this. This is feels like so long ago. 8 FPS versus 24 FPS kind of sequence, I guess. And I wanted to see which one looked nicer. Yeah, I don't remember that stuff too well. I'd have to think about it a lot more. And then sequence hand first draft. This is, this was the first deliverable stuff for the first project, which took a lot of time still. I know somehow I got that finished and turned in the first week because I spent days and days and days animating that hand. And it was a different method, and I would do it differently now, but that's in the past. So if we go back, we go to Pixel Horror now. We go to the Pixel Horror project file. We have Photoshop exports and Premiere exports. So if we go into Photoshop exports, so this is like my dedicated file structure that I do this in now. I'm really happy with how I've made it and organized it. I'm really happy with how I've organized it. So I have export batch and export sequence. So export batch is when wait, let me think about this. So export batch is actually the second part. Export sequence is the first part. Export sequence is when I'm in Photoshop and I'm painting every frame individually, and then I export each of those frames individually as an individual frame, like right here. These are individual frames for an animation, and if you go through them, you're gonna have an animation. So these are each individual frames exported. So I export it here. This is the default folder to export to, and then I make it its own separate folder, of course. But before I do that, actually, I'll do a batch rescaling of all the images because I have to edit them in 144p, 256 by 144, because that's the pixel amount that I liked. There's a lot to it. And then I have to export that, and then I have to take those back in with a batch, a Photoshop batch edit that takes everything in this folder, and then it rescales it to 2160p using the nearest neighbor sampling method, pretty sure. So it'll keep everything pixelated still and not stretch out the pixels and blur it. And then it'll put it all into this export batch folder. And then this export batch folder goes into the 2160p folder. And then this export sequence folder, like the 144p originals, just go in this extra folder, 144p. These are all the 144ps right here. So yeah, so those are those two folders. And then an extra already showed you the 144p stuff. So that's like the 144p. These are the drawn frames from Photoshop before they were rescaled. And then ignore, I just have like a couple extra like weird exports that I did in here. So like these are exports that I don't really need to use because I didn't really think about how I was going to use them or how I was going to organize things. But so I just wanted to keep them at least and put them in an extra folder. So I put them in an extra and then an ignore. So and then each of these folders, alley, arms, eye, face, male, and mouth, these are all animations. These are all the final animations that I've made. And then in some of these, there are variations of the animation. So in mouth, we have mouth long, which is the whole mouth animation, and then mouth short, which is just the short animation that pairs with these blood animations. And then the reason why I did this for this one specifically, I had so many different variations in the layers that I wanted to be able to place them around in different ways in Premiere. So this was simpler. Instead of exporting each different variation, I just exported each individual layer so then I could put them into different variations in Premiere. Like for example with face, as you can see with face, I just have two folders, face and then face extra, which has the face with blood. So I use this if I don't want the blood, I use this if I want the blood. And that was just 10 minutes of me explaining my folders, but I'm going to go ahead and really quickly explain my project, Adobe project file, which I was getting really frustrated with. It is time consuming though, but I mean, I'm trying to compress weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work into, I don't know, 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes. Which is all right. I feel like I'm trying to explain it all. This Premiere project I was getting really frustrated with because Premiere can have some really bad bugs, and I had like a really bad UI bug where it wouldn't update my UI when I was clicking around and stuff. Yeah, so I can actually go through. Yeah, so I have like a completely separate folder structure in Premiere, which I'm really proud of that I put together. I mean, it helps organize this a lot. So I have my this is my main project. This is just like some test stuff. This extra test stuff. This is old stuff basically. Old test stuff that just ended up in this Premiere project. And so we have the project folder right here, of course, the root folder. We can go into imports, arms, face, malin, alley, eye, mouth. So in imports, there's my imports. This was just footage that I used for testing the cuts. So timing tests. Oh, did I not talk about that? I don't think I mentioned that. Did I? If I go back to turn-in, my turn-in exports. Oh, I didn't get to this. Okay, so for my Premiere exports folder, which I completely forgot about, there are some very important things here. These are like my more final things that I'm turning in. So the main final thing is within the girl pusher folder, and then cut timing test. Cut timing test is actually, in a way, just like my final animation, because it's just me timing or testing the cut timing for the music. And I started off with doing footage, just basic footage, and then I did 4 bass animations. Then I did 5 bass animations, and then I did 6 bass animations. And so, yeah, each of those are just me building and doing the cutting, and I just call it a cut timing test still, even though I should probably change that. And this was a big thing, too. This was a big realization for me with the no color key folder. So the color key actually really helps me with removing that black background. I had a completely ridiculous way of removing the black background by applying an ultra key, a luma key, an alpha key, an alpha adjust, and then a tone, a tint effect. And those are ridiculous. Like, that's too many, man. To remove a black background, if I use color key and then I set the right amount of it removing the black, which is 10 for me, it works 10. And I can show that right here. If I go into here, adjustment layer, and then here it is, color key, and then a color tolerance is at 10, and it'll remove that black background. So we go back here. No color key. So if you watch these, you'll be able to tell, I'm pretty sure, right? You should be able to tell that one of them has noise around the pixels, while the other one doesn't have noise. But if you go to here's an example. So if you go to test effects is where I was testing removing that noise. So color key 10, color key 100, which is too much. I mean, it's fine, but I mean it's too risky. I feel like it'll remove actual color pixels instead of the black. But yeah, if you compare so here's Ali no effects, right? And I'm not sure if it had any noise around it. I think there is. Yeah. So if you look at it from an angle, it depends on your monitor, but you can see little pixels of noise around the colored lines that I've drawn. And so what I did is because I was just using the black background, but if I really need to remove that black background if I don't want that noise showing up, so I applied the color key. And so then you can see there is no more noise when you look at it from an angle, or even if you the light probably is ruining it or making it harder to see. But yeah, and then test layers. This was me testing just like the different like ways I can layer things, I guess. Yeah, it feels like it was a while ago, but it was pretty recent, maybe a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Feels like it. So yeah, comparing this, these are really cool. These are really cool, honestly. These are tests. These are just tests. Me, throwing things out there and exporting them and seeing how they look, and they look cool. And they're just tests. They're just tests for me to see what things look like, to compare things. This is me comparing things. We have the details by themselves, outlines, and then like I did different layers and different strokes and different colors, just to see with each one of these variations how it changed. And yeah, that's it for that. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. If we go back though, so in my Premiere project, back to my Premiere project, we have the imports folder. I already talked about this, where I have the footage coming in, my music, of course. That's all I need, really. This was just test footage to test the timing cuts, and then this is the music itself. And then these are all my animations: arms, face, Malin, alley, eye, mouth, arms. And then I have my 2 folders of frames, 148 frames, and then these are the sequences for these frames. So I just take all the frames, put them into sequence. I could go through the process. I don't know. It's there's a lot, man. So yeah, I would take all the frames, I'd put them into a sequence. I would tell all the frames to be one frame, because by default, when it puts an image in a sequence, it's like 5 seconds or something like that. So you want to tell them all to have a speed. You change the speed /duration to 1 frame, and then there's like gaps. So you can just go to sequence, and then you can go to close gap, and it'll close all the gaps in your timeline. So there's no blank spaces. And so now all the frames are together. They are 1 frame long, and then it plays out, and I made sure that these sequences are 15 FPS and all that, 30 FPS time code. So it's all good. That is basically the gist of that stuff. And then for me actually working in the project to do the animations and put them together, I have my main project sequence right here where I have the music, I have the animations cutting in and out, and I have different layers here because like this was just the test footage right here on this layer, but I have it all hidden except for the top layer because that was my most recent layer. And then I have the second to last layer right here, which is only like 4 animations, I'm pretty sure. That's what I said. 4 base animations or something like that. And then 5 base animations with the next layer, and then 6 base animations. So every single time I do a new animation, for some reason, I really want to put it in and see how it meshes with everything else. So that's why I keep doing like 4 base animations, 5 base animations, 6 base animations. I want to see how they kind of mesh in with the dialogue of the music, which I really like. I love this song. It's so good. It has like a really cool vibe. It's really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. The narrative behind it, it's all good. Yeah, and then and to make it easier for myself, instead of having to go to each folder and then drag the sequence in, I just have this animations all. So this animations all. These are all the animations. I have the arm animation, the arms extra animation, the face extra. All of the animations are right here. All of my animations with all the different variations of them. It's like I want mouth blood drip, or I want mouth blood less, or I want mouth blood some, or mouth blood more drip. You know, I did a bunch of different combinations, variations that I did. That's a whole nother thing I could get into, where I combined all the different layers and I made a bunch of different variations. Like this could be one animation, but I made it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 animations because I compiled the layers in different ways. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. For me to talk about this stuff makes me feel really good about it because I'm realizing how much work I did, but it's funny too because like how do you measure that? Because like I don't know, it's weird how you measure work and measure and you measure all this stuff, and I don't really try to pay attention to it. I'm just trying to get the project the way I want it and perfect it the way I want it. So yeah, I just drag the animation from here into here, and then I cut it. And I already initially cut it to the music, so it's all good. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. And I mean, it's funny too. It may not seem like a lot when you look at the very final product. That's like, you know, if there's only one product, but if you show all the exports, even then, if you show all the exports of your work, even then, you're not seeing the whole process. And I feel like it's really cool for me to talk about it all. I don't know. I enjoy it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching this. If you're still watching it, I've definitely been on quite a long journey, or quite a fast journey, I guess. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Please. I'd love to hear feedback. I'd love to hear all of that. It's great. Thank you.